is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
It's been an interesting season so far. The road teams are winning more than the home teams. We're getting to the point of the season where the weather's getting poor, and we saw about half the league not score the average that we've seen in the first 10 weeks. So really hard to figure any one of 20 teams could show up in L.A. for the Super Bowl. Mike, since we don't give you the topics when we do this segment, I'll start with you first and just put you on the griddle to begin with.
All right, good.
The Chiefs' defense. What about Kansas? We always talk about Mahomes, and they ran their funky plays, and it was all great. What about their defense against Dallas on Sunday?
Well, and this is a continuation of something we've seen in recent weeks. The Chris Jones moving to the outside experiment is over. He's back inside. He's creating havoc. He's playing like he once did. He's healthy now, and that's a big key to any defense. If you can get pressure on the quarterback, especially up the middle, you can make it very hard for an offense to do what it's trying to do. And look, today, the Cowboys didn't have Amari Cooper. They ended up losing CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott couldn't get it going. That helped. But when that defense has improved the way it has over the past few weeks, it's going to be hard for any offense to operate.
And Mike, I've been calling for this all year. I've had the blessing to coach Warren Sapp, John Randall, some dominant inside guys. I just can't even picture moving those guys outside where you take away that threat. Chris Jones is one of the best players in the league when he's playing tackle. Now, I know Frank Clark was out. And that helps having him healthy. They traded for Melvin Ingram or signed him. So they've got some outside people. But they're playing sound football now. They're just teeing off. Tyrann Mathieu is making plays. Snead is making plays in the secondary. They look like a different defense now.
Yeah, they do. And I think their secondary is just covering better, too. They're not giving up big plays, which is probably a product of their pass rush, too, getting there faster. But their pressure packages at times are well-timed, and they can give you problems. So I think the combination of all those things is making them the team that we expected them to be.
Did we ever say the Chiefs were winning with defense?
Well, maybe we are now. So the offense looked really good against the Raiders, right? That second half last Sunday night, you felt, okay, they're kind of starting to feel themselves again. And I mentioned they ran a few trick plays. They only scored 19 points. Should we feel like the offense is back at this point or not?
No, it's not back. They got 16 in the first half, played really well, and then in the second half you saw some of the same thing. Holding penalties to stall drives. Travis Kelce drops a ball right in his hands that becomes an interception. The quarterback, Mahomes, just waiting, looking, scrambling out of the pocket instead of just delivering. They're still not in sync, but they don't have to be perfect now the way their defense is playing.
Yeah, and I think getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire back is going to help them in the run game. But continuing to rely on Kelce and the weapon that he is, and Tyreek was a factor, especially early in this game. But just stick with your playmakers, and if you take care of the football, the way your defense is playing, you're going to win a lot of games.
And we saw Tyreek Hill getting a lot of cushion, and in the first half, just throwing him 10-yard plays, moving down the field. But then it's just like, well, that's not good enough. I don't want to just move down the field. Let me go deep again.
Dallas was that team we were thinking, okay, Dallas is maybe the best team in the NFC. Now, we've seen them struggle a couple of weeks here. Mike, 2 out of the last 3, I should say. Mike, the short turnaround for Thanksgiving is always difficult on teams. But for Dallas, it may be extra difficult because of those injuries you mentioned at the wide receiver spot. One injury, one player out because of COVID.
Well, that's right. Amari Cooper won't be back because he's unvaccinated and he'll have to miss at least 10 days from the day of his positive test. So he definitely is out. And with CeeDee Lamb, that's a tough turnaround to get yourself cleared to practice and play in just 4 days. So they're going to have to make it go against the Raiders on Thursday. And, just a few weeks ago, that looked like it was going to be a great, great game. Yeah. And the Cowboys have lost 2 out of 3, and the Raiders are falling apart. And that's good news for the Cowboys. It's going to be a little bit easier than it would have been because the Raiders have lost their way.
Let's flip over to Houston and Tennessee, because if there was a game that you were sure that one team is solid, the other team is searching, Tennessee will handle Houston. And now Tennessee's lost to the Jets and the Texans in the same year.
And we saw Tennessee lose a game that we're kind of not used to seeing them lose. 4 interceptions. The punt returner lets the ball hit him. Yeah. You give away easy points. And then they just didn't look in sync on offense to me, Drew.
No, and they haven't for the last 3 weeks. They won that Rams game with defense. They got a pick six, and then they got one that basically resulted in a turnover or a touchdown very quickly. They really beat the Saints last week with defense. So they have not scored very many points, and they certainly have not been able to run the football or make big plays in the passing game without Derrick Henry as that threat. So they need to find a way to, if they're not going to score more than 20 a game, they better not turn the ball over.
It kind of gives a little argument to your Derrick Henry MVP vote. Even though he played half the season, you're not going to vote for him. But it's a reminder of how valuable he truly is.
This is like losing a quarterback for most teams. Your offense is so built around this guy. Now you have to be a little bit different. This is like playing with your backup quarterback.
And good for Houston, by the way. David Culley, their coach, has come in to a really difficult situation. Mike, think about how many times you've talked about Deshaun Watson and that the entire year. And in most every place, that would be a massive distraction. And Tyrod Taylor was out for a whole bunch of time. Yet this team still continues to play hard, and they get rewarded in Nashville.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been saying for weeks, they're going to win just enough games to screw up having the first overall pick in the draft. It's inevitable that the Texans will do that. And I got a hot take on the Titans.
Yeah?
I think the worst thing that could have happened to the Titans was they got to see the Patriots shut out the Falcons on Thursday night.
Why?
Because they got the Patriots next week, and they looked past the Texans.
Oh, come on.
You think
that happens at this level?
There's got to be an explanation for what we saw today. That's the simplest one.
All right, so let's take the two guys who weren't in locker rooms and turn to the two guys who are. Do teams look past teams in the NFL?
No, you don't. You really don't. You don't plan on turning the football over. You don't plan on those things happening. It's hard to explain.
But can you lose focus? Can you lose focus because, like Mike said, that's out there for next week? You got a big game ahead.
If you do, I think it's the coach's fault, and I'm sure Mike Vrabel did not let those guys lose focus.
I think it's divisional opponents. I think there's something about playing divisional opponents. No matter what your records say, or you should be much better on paper, there's something about the level of familiarity that just makes those games a bit tougher. Even if it's just for the first 3 quarters, it's a bit of a slugfest, and then maybe you pull away in the fourth, but if you start turning the ball over and let them hang around or let them have the lead and get some confidence, well, then it changes the game. I mean, I can think of plenty of those moments. I'm sure you can too, Coach, where you go and play a team in your division that you should beat very handily, and yet it becomes a true four-quarter game.
Fair enough, Mike. We've been put in our place, but we tried best we could to get that answer. Let me go to Buffalo because Mike mentioned that Tennessee is playing New England. And New England's the division leader going into the week. Buffalo plays on Thanksgiving night on NBC. The Colts are coming. There's something about this team. And I thought, Tony, that after they lost that game to Tennessee, that was going to be lights out for them. It wasn't. No,
it wasn't. And I know Frank Reich well, and he did a good job of telling those guys, hey, you know what? There are no teams. If Tennessee's supposed to be the best team in the AFC, we were up on them by 14.
Yep.
We threw 2 bad interceptions to let them back in the game. We're up on Baltimore. They're the division leaders. We're up on them by 19 and lost that game. So we can play with anybody. And they went in with that attitude. And I kind of thought, I said before the game, if it's windy and it's rainy, Indy running the ball and Buffalo throwing the ball is a formula for an upset.
Yeah, and they've gone on the road and won some impressive games. Remember they went to San Francisco a few weeks back on Sunday Night Football with the bomb cyclone, right?
Yeah.
And they win that game in what is the December, January type of conditions, right? And they did it today at Buffalo. So they're a team where you feel like even as a wild card, they're going to get in here and go on the road and really give people some problems.
But how about that? A dome team we're talking about now is the team that we've seen twice in some really bad weather, and the ability to run the ball. And, Mike, Jonathan Taylor has really emerged here as a significant voice and player in the National Football League. 5 touchdowns today, over 150 yards. Super Bowl era, so we're talking a half century and half a decade. Clinton Portis, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, the only guys to have a game like that. 5 total TDs and over 150 rushing yards.
Yeah, unbelievable. And he is starting to get some arguments from within the locker room that he should be the MVP. And I think we're going to see his odds to win MVP begin to improve because people are going to notice this guy deserves that consideration for what he means to the team. And one of the smartest things the Colts have done, even though Marlon Mack didn't like it, they didn't trade him when he wanted to be traded. They're keeping him inactive more often than not. They've got their insurance policy because we know how the running back position goes. We saw what happened to Derrick Henry.
Right.
If something should happen to Jonathan Taylor, they're going to have Marlon Mack healthy, 100%, and ready to plug into that offense.
Tony, you start shaking your head as soon as Mike mentioned Marlon Mack. Why?
Yeah, well, I think that's a very, very good point. If you want to play that style of ball, you better be protected and better be able to do it in case your horse goes down. And Marlon Mack is a very, very good back, and he can give them the same type of production if they need it.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor carried the ball, 32 times today. I mean, that's typically been unheard of. I mean, even, Derrick Henry, but that's kind of an aberration. Like, that just doesn't happen in this day and age. And so you certainly want to have that insurance policy.
The HBO show that we've seen for many years, Hard Knocks, that happens preseason, is going on in season with the Colts. I don't know how many of you caught the first episode, but there's a likability about this Colts team, too. If you get a chance to see the personalities of Reich and Carson Wentz and their relationship, and Taylor and Darius Leonard, their defensive leader, it's a good team that they selected, not by accident, I'm sure, to feature here. And we'll see Buffalo Thanksgiving night in New Orleans, Drew. The Bills, that's a tough turnaround to be at home and get smacked like that. Now have to go down to the Dome 4 days later.
Yeah, but I know Sean McDermott played against him a bunch when he was the defense coordinator in Carolina. And so you know that they are going to have a response. That defense is going to come out ready to play. Offensively, I think that's what we focused on with the Bills here over the last couple weeks, just because we haven't seen any consistency. They have not been able to run the ball with anybody really other than Josh Allen, and their passing game really is not him standing in the pocket delivering things on time. It's just all these off-schedule plays. So, what type of a passing offense are they? What type of a run game offense can they generate to complement what has been a really, really good defense for most of the year?
And I'll say this. Buffalo, they dialed up 8 runs for their running backs in this game. Only 8.
Yeah, not
if
enough.
they go to New Orleans and only run 8 times and let that pass rush just tee off, they will not win. They're going to have to be more balanced down there in the Dome.
Be an interesting matchup. All right, speed round here as we get set for the holiday. What kind of music we have? You can get a better cut for the second part of speed round. But Green Bay, Minnesota. Mike, I'll start with you because of your fondness for that matchup. Kirk Cousins topped Aaron Rodgers in a shootout.
Hey, as Coach said during Football Night in America, if you give Kirk Cousins time to throw, he will find an open guy. They've got great receivers. The question is, can they keep the walls from closing in on him before he gets to a point where he can't improvise the way that an Aaron Rodgers can? So you give him time, he's going to gain yards, he's going to score touchdowns, and the Vikings are going to win some games.
Rashawn Gary being out, a little less pressure, and that made a big difference. Those one-on-one matchups, the Vikings receivers won all day.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, I know he had the Randy Moss shirt on today, but, I mean, he's kind of a young Devontae Adams in my mind, too. Deep threat, great route runner, a lot of niftiness and savviness. He's got the complement of Adam Thielen on the other side. And let's not forget Dalvin Cook. I mean, they've got one of the best running backs in the league, too. So if they can run the football, protect Cousins, and have these weapons stay healthy, they should be able to score a lot of points.
It's interesting. The volume of catches is not there with Thielen as it was a few years back, but every big drive, Thielen a big catch, huge one down the far sideline to set up the game-winning field goal. Washington football team against Carolina. I have this fondness for Taylor Heineke. When we did the playoff game last year, the Bucs and the Washington football team, Taylor Heineke is going to go up against Tom Brady, and they had the best chance to beat them in the entire playoff run. And to see Heineke go back to Carolina, where he was the backup for Cam, when the game was about Cam's first home game and Ron Rivera's return, Heineke did it in the fourth quarter when it mattered the most, Tony.
And it's third down conversions, fourth down conversions, big throws, red zone completions. It doesn't always look great, but it's productive, and that's who he is.
Yeah, and in consecutive weeks versus the Bucs last week and then this week against Carolina, they had to go and seal the game with a long drive, get points. They did it 2 weeks in a row, and it was a combination of Taylor Heineke running around, converting third downs, running the ball very well. So they've got the formula as well.
All he does is beat Super Bowl MVPs. He got Brady, got Cam. Who's next? Bring them all on. Mike, your thoughts on watching Cam's first home game, but Heineke end up getting the win for Ron Rivera?
Yeah, look, it was exciting for the Panthers, and it's great for Cam, but Ron Rivera knows that team. There's still enough guys there despite all the turnover. He knows how they operate. He knows how Cam operates. And even though Coach Rivera took the high road when he was asked about it this week, I mean, they fired him. They fired him. And you're not going to forget that. You're not going to let that go when you have a chance to go back there and show them what you can do. And that had to have been a little bit of an extra for Ron Rivera.
Trust me, man, I know how he felt going back in there and winning the game, going back in that stadium. I know. It was not just another game.
Tony had the Cheshire Cat nod going as Florio was saying that, no doubt. You know, we've talked about all these headline grabs and this and that. Arizona's got the best record in the league. And Colt McCoy did what you need a backup to do.
Exactly.
Your star's out. Can you save a game? Or maybe can you save a stretch of the season? 2-1 in this stretch with McCoy as the quarterback.
Yeah, everybody, and we've talked about it, the young quarterbacks, when they step in their first game, oh, he wasn't ready, Justin Fields wasn't ready, this guy wasn't ready, but that's what you want in your backup quarterback, an experienced guy who's been there, who can go in and win a game for you, and that's what Colt has done.
Yeah, and you could feel there was a level of confidence when he was in there, and he knew that offense and was ready to make those throws, and he had to make some down the stretch today, too, on third down many times on that last drive.
They had Chris Streveler's their backup, and they still have him on the roster. He's been backing up, but they wanted an experienced guy. And Steve Keim did a great job, Mike Florio, in the offseason of rebuilding or building that roster. And that was one of the key acquisitions that's paid off in a 2-1 stretch.
Absolutely. Look, we saw it with Patrick Mahomes a couple of years ago when he had the knee injury. They just had to hold it together until he could come back, and then they picked up where they left off. Same thing here, 2-1 without Kyler Murray. Now he's got the bye week. He comes back on the back end for the stretch run. And with all the storm clouds hovering over Seattle,
yeah,
I think we need to appreciate how great they've been. This is so jarring to see them at 3-7 because they've been so good every year for a decade, above 500. And everybody's going to reach the end of the road at some point, and it's happened to the Seahawks. But 10 years of sub-5 or above 500 football.
Mike, I just said that to Tony in a commercial. We're so used to seeing rain, bad weather, 12s are cheering, a defensive stop, Pete Carroll's chomping gum, and like they hit a 60-yard pass, and Pete's going like this, and it's just not happening this year. It feels weird, right?
You can't get it. You're waiting for that one big play, and it just doesn't come. And they don't have it. They don't have enough playmakers right now.
Yeah, I mean, you still got Lockett and you still got DK, but I think you know, this is the first time Russell's missed significant time. You know, so you wonder just how's the thumb or how's the finger and how is he just getting back into the flow of things. But, yeah, it certainly doesn't seem like he's got much help right now.
Mike, I'll start with you on our last point. Sunday night next week, it's Baltimore and Cleveland. Lamar Jackson out with an illness. It wasn't COVID. It wasn't the flu. Tyler Huntley comes in, and you talked to him. When did he find out he was going to start?
Yeah, when he got the text this morning from Lamar Jackson that he said, go do your thing. And Huntley said, because my next question was, what percentage chance did you think it would be when you went to bed last night that you were going to start? And he said, I assumed I was playing. I prepared as if I was playing. And he said if I hadn't done that, we probably would have had a different outcome today.
And, Tony, he's seen a lot of time because this isn't the first time we've had that illness with Lamar Jackson. And even go back to when Lamar missed time with COVID in the preseason.
Yeah, I think getting that practice time in training camp, preseason games, and during the week, the last few weeks, he's gotten like one day every week. We've seen Lamar on with an illness, so that really helped. But I'm concerned about Baltimore's offense because for the last couple of weeks, we've seen these all-out blitzes, and they haven't really handled them. You know, the quarterbacks have run around and made some plays, but they've got to come up with something to handle people pressuring them.
Which kind of surprises you because you got to think that in practice every day against your own defense during training camp, that's probably what you're seeing, right? I mean, I don't think there's a defense like Baltimore's that blitzes cover zero as much. So, yeah, they got to come up with an answer.
The most important question, and there is no topic bar, the thing we call these things, no topic bar for this one. Florio, I'll start with you. Most important Thanksgiving, or your favorite Thanksgiving side dish?
Straight for the stuffing with the chestnuts in it, without question, and the hard edges around the pan.
Very good.
That get like really crisp and break your teeth. That's what I go for.
Outstanding. Nice broken teeth. So dentists, big fans of the Florio Christmas. Breeze?
You know what? My grandmother used to make homemade applesauce and put cinnamon red hots in it.
Really?
Melt those down.
No.
So it was like a spicy cinnamon.
Oh my God.
Applesauces.
Has that recipe been passed down to the family at all?
Been passed down.
I need some of that. That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Share the recipe.
All right.
For me, it's probably the cranberry sauce to put over everything and smash it in there. But, you know, I'm not a big sweets guy anymore, but the sweet potato pie.
Sweet potato pie. Yeah, that's good. Sweet potatoes. I'm with you, the stuffing. I like to keep my teeth, so I don't know if I go for the
extra crispy.
The extra edges that Florio does. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. And everybody out there, it's the best holiday. It's football. It's family. it's friends and it's food, and enjoy and be thankful. We're
We'll
thankful.
see you guys in New Orleans.
We'll be in New Orleans. They're gonna honor Drew at halftime in New Orleans too. So we'll get to go back, and I'll just say hi. I'm with him. It'll be fun. See you on Thanksgiving night on NBC. Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.